Hello everyone. Arunga ki tō tātou tutaki anga tō ana nei. Reka tēnā kau te akairururunga i te ko ai o tō mātou e noa tumu. So first of all, I'd like to sincerely thank all the organizers of this conference because I think everyone here is very happy to be here. And also a big thank you to everyone here because for making me feel good here away from home. So thanks for that. For the presentation, I'm gonna do my best to speak in English. So in advance, excuse me for that. The title of my presentation is Anareo, an interoperable database for the languages of French Polynesia, and we will talk about the case of Rapa language. But a quick aside first, Anareo is a project which received the support of many partners that I will display at the end, because those partners which are here are the one for my PhD research. So, how does it work? Yes. First of all, we will talk about the contextual informations, just to make sure we all understand the context. And then I will talk about the fieldwork I have working on and the genesis of Anareo, the database. Then we will see how the database is structured, and finally we will see the perspectives for the database. So let's start with a general contextualization. So on the map, we are here in Berlin, in Germany, and 17,000 kilometers from here, there is the island of Rapa, among the Pacific islands. And Rapa is a volcanic island of 40 kilometers squares, where 400 people live. On this map, you can see the three stars, green stars, and it shows where people live on the island. Rapaiti is part of French Polynesia Islands, and it takes 4 days by boat going there from Tahiti, but to go to the nearest island, fortunately, it's only 2 days. The languages spoken there are Rapa and French. And today we will focus on Rapa language. I'd like to quickly show you an overview of schooling on the island, because actually the children coming from the island of Rapa go to the primary school on the island, but then they move to another island, which is Tupuai, for the secondary school, and it's a boarding secondary school. After Tupuai, they move again to go to Tahiti for high school, and it's also a boarding high school. But I remember that at that time, when I was younger, I am young, but when I was younger, the boarding high school in Tahiti couldn't keep us on weekends. So all of the children coming from Rapaiti went to their family in Tahiti, but you know, like family you don't even know. So unfortunately, that often didn't go down well for the majority of us. In my case, I was lucky enough to have my to have my parents with me in Tahiti, because they moved to Tahiti to be with me for 3 years. And thanks to them, everything went down well for me. So yes, I had this chance. And then I went to the University of French Polynesia, doing my master's degree and getting it. Yes, I got my master's degree at the UPF. When I got it, I said to myself, okay, now you can rest. I mean, you have working a lot and you can rest. You can go back to your roots. I mean, working the land and fishing, things I love to do. But a bit later, Jacques Vernaudon, which is one of my professors there, came to me saying if I'd like to write a thesis on Maupiti language, which is another island of French Polynesia. And then I said, oh, no, because I am not involved on another language that is not mine. So I said, that's very kind, but no. And some months later, he came back saying to me, okay, what if it's on the language of Rapa? And then I started thinking about that, like seriously, because I was saying to myself, I was lucky to get my master's degree coming from Rapaiti. I have spent like very wonderful years studying Polynesian languages, and now I have been offered a job to study my own language. So I have been really thinking about that. And more people of my islands, when they knew that I have been offered this job, they all counted on me. So that's how I came to say, okay, let's try it. So I started my PhD researches months ago, like few months ago, 10 months ago, in descriptive linguistics, on the description of the grammatical structures of Rapa language. Yet to have material for my analysis, I needed texts on that particular language, so I got out into the field to gather discussions with people, which is how I got involved in documentation. Today at the UPF, we are a group of some students working, each of us working on its own language. So everything I am talking about today also applies to their work. Well, that was for a better understanding where I come from and my motivations. To ease into the subject, let's talk about the fieldwork genesis and the genesis of Anareo database. This year in April, I made my first field survey on the island by collecting oral corpus for my grammatical description, but bearing in mind that I would be depositing all of my data in the database called Anareo. And on the other hand, I was also bearing in mind that on the island as well, there could be some informations needed for various projects there, I could help to collect. Yes, so after many times of reflections with committees on the island and teachers of the school there, we decided that I would focus my documentation on the life stories of the elders of the island. Why? In fact, the school needed stories on traditional practices for many projects children, and the Committee of Language of the island also needed all words that occurs in the discussions with elders. In addition to that, another topic I had to investigate was the rahui. Rahui, which is a Polynesian concept of sustainable and long-lasting resources management. Today, it is mostly related to marine resources, but traditionally it was on all natural resources. Yes. Yes, sorry. Yeah. Actually, the rahui of Rapaiti is well known in French Polynesia for being very effective. So it's a kind of model there. So for this part of my work, I am working with the organization Nick had mentioned, which is the Rahui Center in French Polynesia, and that provides technical and scientific support to communities wishing to establish a Rahui on their island. This work I am doing with the Rahui Center help my colleagues there working on this project to identify the factors that make this rahui effective in Rapaiti, so as they could help other communities and better understanding their context. So I started to record people in Rapa on topics that could help Rahui establishment elsewhere in French Polynesia, and that could also help different organizations on the island. And currently I am segmenting, transcribing, and uploading the audio files on the database. Ha! Yes. Let's talk now about the genesis of the Anareo database. Yes, let me mention that the starting point of the creation of this database dates back to Nick Burger here, mission in 2013 when he was invited by the University of French Polynesia there. During this mission devoted precisely to the design and the management of digital archives, Nick had the opportunity to discuss with the language academy, Tahitian Language Academy there, who handed him a file which is at the origin of publication of the Academy's paper dictionary. So this file was given to Nick, and it was the starting point of the creation of the Anareo database. Let me just... this database was designed by Hugues Talfer, which is a computer engineer, and it is managed online with restricted access, and it is gradually enriched by various partners, like the different languages academies of French Polynesia, who continues to fill and feed their own dictionary online, the university which participates in structuring the content, and we also count on specialists' support to perform specific tasks on the dictionary. Are you still awake? Thank you, because this is the time. Okay, let's have a look at the Anareo database. Anareo is actually a database, meaning that we work on it in the back office. Actually, the name Anareo means Ana, cave, of voice, of reo, which means voices or languages. So Anareo is the cave of voices or the cave of languages. We are here in the database, and there is a certain number of headings here at the left. And among these headings, the oral archives here, dedicated to the languages of French Polynesia, is called Anavevo. So Anareo is the big structure, and Anavevo is a part of the big structures, and Anavevo means the cave of Vevo echoes. So let's just keep in mind that in Anareo, first we have an oral archive, which is Anavevo. The second part of the database is this one. No, it's not that one. Oh, yes, that just to illustrate that we can put all the transcriptions and the audio files with metadata to fill in. Yes. Yes, the second part of the Anareo database is about lexical words, because all of the audio recordings give me access to many lexical words that have never been listed yet by lexicographical works. So what's fantastic with that database is the fact that in another part of it, we can upload new words. Yeah, the new words I heard in my recordings by checking beforehand that it is not listed in the database. Actually, in the database, we ask Hugues Talfer, the computer engineer, to add the main lexicographic work in Rapa language, which is the lexicon created by Paulus Kivit and the Language Committee of the island. And this lexicon aggregates works of an English ethnologist in 1920. And it also aggregates the works of the Committee of Language of the island, and also some contemporary neologisms. Today, it contains more than 2,000 words in Rapa language, and during my first field work, I have listed 200 non-listed words I have to add to the list. Okay, so when I see in an audio file a word which is not already listed, I add it, and if it's already listed, I compare the former definition of the lexical, which is already there, and the new word. The great thing is that I can keep track of both layers of definition by tracing the source and keeping the both layers of definition. So that's the second part of Anareo. We have kept in mind the audio files. Now we have talked about the lexicographic part. Okay, are you okay? Okay, let me just have a quick water. Another interesting thing linked to the Anareo database is the possibility of designing interactions between the lexical entries of this part with texts that are available on this language. Either for this text, we can do an OCR of the text when it is good enough quality, or we can also put the interlinear text on the database to access each word of the text. Yes, so that's the third part. The third part of the database. You put like an old paper, and if it's good enough, you do the OCR, and you can also just type all the text. That's the third. Then we have that, which is another project developed under Anareo. And it is the digitalization of the atlas of the language of French Polynesia. The atlas was published in paper in 2015, and it was produced by Jean-Michel Charpentier and Alexandre François. It is a very substantial document, which includes around 2,200 semantic entries, which are then broken down according to the different geographical field points. So from a semantic entry here, you have on survey points distributed over the whole Polynesian the translation equivalence of the semantic entry, which results to 53,000 words in total in the Atlas database. So that's the fourth part of the Anareo database. The content of the linguistic atlas here was switched to Anareo and have been enriched by adding other languages of Eastern Polynesia. Here you can see, for example, Cook Island, which are not part of French Polynesia. You can see Île de Pâques, Rapa Nui, Easter Island. You can see Cook Island, New Zealand, and Hawaii. So that's a huge map of semantic words. From this information available on Anareo, on the same principle as the dictionary, we generated a public consultation site. Yes, And also, just a last thing, we can access to the POLEX, which is a comparative dictionary of Polynesian languages with protoform reconstruction from this atlas. So we have seen so far that Anareo contains different parts in it, with audio files, with lexical database, with the map, and the other one was, I don't remember. Let me check. Yes, the interactions with the texts. Yes, but all of those working sections are all in the background. So let's see how it is in the public site. So here is the public lexical website here. And if you search a word, here it is a Tahitian word, because in Rapa language we are not done yet with this work. So we can type the word here in Tahitian, and this word is Mahana. And thanks to all the information we uploaded online in the back office side, we have access to them from this page. So only one site to access to many informations. And that is the main characteristic of the database, the Anareo database, because all its sections are interoperable. And that's a big thing, I think. Yes, here, for example, you can access contents of use here. If you click on this link, you can access the content, the context of use. When we uploaded a text file, it came directly here if the word here is mentioned on the text. So you can access the context. And in Tahitian, there are like many years. I think it's 2, not decades, how? 100 years. Yes, centuries, 2 centuries texts. So you can see how the word evolved over the time. And that's pretty interesting. You can also access to the protoform of the words, because it takes you to the POLEX lexicon. Another thing I didn't mention yet is the fact that we can also have pictures on the website, and that's the job of another guy who is working with us, which is a botanical specialist. So that's for the word ate, which is a plant. For another word, for some other words, we can access to pronunciation of the word. But we can easily imagine that the day we will open the audio file recordings in this platform, this pronunciation will have many kind of pronunciation with various persons. So to sum up, Anareo database is an interoperable back office structures that allows to create dictionaries or to modify dictionaries that already exist. It also allows us to access the audio recordings, to access the written texts, to access the map of semantic entries, access the protoform, and to watch sometimes a picture of natural species. So to put it in a nutshell, Anareo is a fantastic tool. But I guess that it would remain fabulous only if every data deposited in it were carefully submitted for community's approval. Because those data are intrinsical, I think, are intrinsical powerful. For example, for the data I am going and I have collected during my field work, I was asked by the community to keep close the access of this database for a certain couple of years, because they don't know all the legends, all the myths I have recorded, and they don't want people from outside to come and take the myth and the legend if they don't even know themselves. So, yeah, I have 15. Yeah, I know, but I have already finished. Is it okay? Okay, thank you.
Wow.
Tongia.
Thank you. So there's plenty of time for questions, and I hope we'll be able to use it to the full. So please raise your hand if you have questions to ask, and the mic will come around. So,
I hardly understand English, so if French people could help me, that would be...
One of my question that I have, it's fantastic, the work that you're showing and the work that you are doing. Have you considered integrating video also in the database?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes. Jacques Vernodon, my professor, thought about video files, but nowadays we are thinking about the hard work. And I mean, it's like very heavy to put videos on the website. So for now, we are just focusing on audio files, and maybe when we'll have a biggest data capacity of in the database, we will consider the videos. Yeah, but that was in the plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Merci beaucoup.
Merci.
Merci pour cette super présentation. C'est vraiment magnifique comme travail. Je voudrais savoir, parce que je suis en train d'essayer de trouver l'adresse pour accéder à la base de données.
Oui.
J'arrive pas. Donc,
Oui.
est-ce qu'il y a une adresse
C'est pour ça
en
que
ligne?
je voulais vous partager.
So sorry, in English, I'm just asking if there's if the website is accessible for us, like now online.
I wanted to share you a QR code to access the website, but yesterday night I saw that it is not accessible from other part of the world, even if it's not Polynesia, because I called my husband, just try it if it's working here, there, and he said yes. So yes, but I can write on the screen the link, but I'm not sure it's working here.
Yeah,
maybe
it's not. I haven't found it by trying various addresses. Like we're finding the video of Jacques explaining about it.
You can access this website from here, which is you can type Anareo Farevana dictionary.
Oui, je connais
Yeah,
ce dictionnaire,
voilà.
super aussi, oui.
But I will talk to Jacques Vernaudot just to try to find out. I think it's a problem of server because our server are in French Polynesia. So I don't know how it works. So maybe it's a problem of server or things like that. Yeah.
En tout cas, merci beaucoup, c'est
Oui.
vraiment super.
Merci. Thank you for your question.
I think Ulrika is next in queue.
When you ask the elderly people in Rapa, what kind of histories did they tell you?
Oh, many histories.
Yes, but
Yeah.
what was the main topics, or can you remember?
Yeah, the creation of the world, the giving birth. Yeah, how people of the I don't know of the Wao.
Yeah.
Oui, lorsque les gens du Hao, c'est-à-dire les gens du monde de la lumière, je ne sais pas comment on dit, ont fait découvrir à ceux du monde du pot le feu, par exemple, ou la manière d'accoucher qui ne soit pas mortelle pour les femmes, parce que dans le pot, les femmes mettaient au monde des enfants et mouraient après. Voilà. Il y a plein de...
Yes, and did they tell you something about the recent history, like colonial times?
Not really. You know, I guess in Rapa we are not very... sorry for what I will be saying, because I guess, from my point of view, that in Rapa we are not very impacted by the colonialization. I mean, we are not...
Not aware. of
Yeah.
it, yeah.
Yeah. And people don't even care of colonialization there. It's not like Tahiti or other islands. Yeah. I don't know why. Yeah. Merci.
Merci beaucoup pour cette présentation tellement intéressante. Ma question serait, pour retourner au début de ta présentation, sur la recherche du programme de doctorat.
Oui.
Quelle a été la réponse des membres de la communauté? Est-ce qu'il y a de l'intérêt à je sais pas, à recycler cette recherche pour produire d'autres matériaux?
Oui.
So about the response to your PhD work and interest in derivative materials that might emerge from that.
Yes, people are very happy. When I went there, they were all saying that we want you to record us, and we have many things to tell you, and things like that. And even the teachers of the school, with them and with the language committee, we are thinking how we can produce educational materials, because we don't have any educational materials in Rapa language for children. So yes, I guess people are very interested in.
Thank you for your talk. I was wondering about the vitality of the language. Do the children use it? Is it very vital on the island? Are there other islands where people speak the language? Maybe you can tell us a little bit about the vitality of the language.
Thank you for your question. Very interesting. Because the first thing I can say is that I mentioned 400 people living on the island, but the fact is that there are everywhere in the world, maybe even in Germany, there are Rapa people living, and mostly they are elder people living elsewhere of the island, so they kept the language, even if they are elsewhere. The second thing is that on the island, the people who are still talking the language like daily are the people from 35 years old to more. But the youngest don't really speak the language, but they can, I mean, my generation, we can speak the language with people, but it's not a daily use. And today there is a revitalization of the language with children. I was talking to Nick and saying that today children knows many things, many words that I don't know, that even my grandmother don't know. But I mean, my grandmother don't use it, but she knows that it exists. Yeah, so it's not a linear, yeah.
Merci beaucoup. Ah, can I? Ah, ok. Merci beaucoup pour la présentation et ton travail et la base de données. Et je me demandais qui utilise cette base,
Oui.
Enfin Anareo, si tu la connaissais avant de commencer ton travail, si c'est utilisé dans plusieurs îles et pour plusieurs langues ou simplement à Tahiti. So my question is about mostly who uses the base. The database, is it very known, and if she knew it before starting the work?
That's a very good question, because the answer is no, I didn't know the database before beginning my research, and it is not well known. I think it's work to do to spread out the use of this database. Yeah. Because I think it's like a very important database, but not really well known. Yes.
And to follow up that point exactly, though, is this data. I first heard about this database, I think, at Paradisic at 10. It was a conference, and I think maybe the person who was working on it or building it gave a presentation, and I was really excited about it when I heard it. So I'm very excited for your presentation to learn more about it. And it's a very interesting thing because there are these systems. I'm going to call it a system rather than a database, because I think it does more than what just a database does. It's an interactive research platform, and this is a very common situation of the very different types of media and the very different research questions that these research platforms are trying to solve. So I know of independent development for this one, for Miami consortium of Native American languages working on this. Blackfoot or Blackfeet has a similar situation where they're going, and Hawaiian has one, and then also there's one in New Mexico. And they all have different technological solutions that do the exact same thing. And so this is and none of these are Mukturku. Yes, this one, I have problems pronouncing things sometimes. And none of them are that. But this is a very important in our space. And then I think the rest of us need to be careful with our language and to just call it a database, because what we're really asking for in this type of thing is a research system, an interactive research system for language, and it integrates the multimodality resources, the multimodal resources, with the inquisitive questions that we have about word choice and situational awareness of word usage and such like this. But and I think this is one of the places where OLAC comes in, where we have a server that is accessible in a certain place for a certain community, and Google can't find it and give us the answer about it. And this is a very important part of why we need tools that exist outside of the Google ecosystem, because they could tell us that, I don't know how many languages are in this, but 20-something, 30-something languages have some sort of data structure inside of the cave of voices.
Yeah, there are maybe around 20 languages.
Yeah. And this, to just become aware of that, Google doesn't know this. And this is the option that we have with the reason why we need a tool like OLAC to go beyond what Google can do.
Thanks for your comment.
Thank you for your talk. I would try this in French, but I'm sure your English is a lot better than my French. I was curious, you were mentioning the recordings, right? Where you can play the words, like you had the dictionary view up, and you said there's a lot of different variant pronunciations, like different people might have different pronunciations. How are you thinking about doing that? Will there be like multiple recordings, or is there like, a decision like this is the right speaker to use? Just curious about that. Yeah, exactly, that pronunciation thing there.
Yeah, that could be a link. I mean, like this one, giving access to another window with the different pronunciation. Like here, here, it is the different word contexts. So maybe something like that.
So you would take the recordings from the existing audio, not like a separate set of recordings?
No.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for this wonderful presentation, really fantastic. I was wondering if the people changed their attitudes towards Rapa within the past decades.
Oh yeah.
And how that is organized.
You mean about the people or about the language?
People thinking of their language.
People of their self or of their own language.
Yes, if they consider it in comparison to French, a good language to speak, a beautiful language.
My mom, when she was young, she told me that she was a bit shy and to speak the language because it wasn't well perceived by the others. I mean, by the Tahitian, for example, and other islands. Because at that time, when you speak French or when you speak French or you speak Tahitian, you were well perceived, like, wow, you speak French, you speak Tahitian. But now, I think in French Polynesia in general, all the different communities are well perceived now. Even the people, for the identity, my mom was shy to say that she was Rapa. And now I am proud to come in Germany and say, I am Rapa. Yeah, it changed.
We have a question from the chat, from the online chat. How do you go about with the community validation, especially recordings and texts about community legends and beliefs? And does the database have means to represent community internal debates? Do you think that should be, that is such internal debate should be put in databases and the archives?
Yeah, that's a good question. People, we have a form, like everyone here, I think, when we record people, and it is translated into Rapa language. When I record people, I read the form while I am recording in Rapa and in French and in Tahitian to make sure that everything is okay. And before the discussion, I go to the people and explaining them what is it about. And the second question was?
If the database includes a way of putting all these debates that the community might have about legends and myths and beliefs in a way that if this information is stored in the database.
Not now. I mean, for the Rapa, I don't know for the other languages, but one thing I am interested in is doing second work. Even for my research, it's very interesting to go back to Rapa and then record while we are listening again the recordings and record the comments of people. So maybe that's a way to introduce, integrate it.
I had one little question I just wanted to ask about the very interesting notion of rahui, which you mentioned at the beginning, and whether other French Polynesian languages have a similar word, if it has other meanings, and if it has some sort of etymology that you can follow up through Anareo.
Yeah, interesting question. Yeah, I know that in Rarotonga, for example, they have the same word, like raui, without the H, and it's quite the same thing. All over the French Polynesia, we have the rahui word. What I can say about the etymology is that we found in a myth of Takurua the word rahui, which is related to the conception of the world. And for the second part of the question, which was?
Whether you can follow that back in, for example, connecting to Polex or the etymologies in Anareo to, I don't know whether it's an old compound word or just something.
Sorry, I didn't understand.
Est-ce que c'est comme un nom composé dans son étymologie?
Ah oui. I'm not sure, but I think that it's not a component word. Yes. But another thing which is interesting is that in Rapa Nui, for example, which is Easter Island, they have the same traditional kind of resource management, but it's not called rahui, it is tapu. But tapu is also in French Polynesia and other parts of Polynesia, but it's a larger concept than rahui. But in Rapa Nui, they don't really know much about the word rahui. For them, all is about tapu. Yeah.
One last question. I think we have time.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much for sharing your beautiful work. My question was about accessing the database from Rapa. Are you able to search it from Rapa, or do you have to take a downloaded version? Do people get to use it directly, or how does that, or do you create resources from it to bring home?
Fortunately, this year in the Austral Island, which is the archipelago of Rapa, there is the, how do you say, underground internet connection? Yes, for other islands. So it make free the satellites for Rapa. So now it is working well But that was a problem for me and for us on the island. I don't know, because I didn't went to Rapa when the underground internet came there. But I'm not sure that you can upload files, but I'm pretty sure you can read, listen to files, and yeah.
Cool, thank you.
Okay, look, I think we're at the end of our time, so I would like to give a double thanks to you, Takurua, both for your magnificent talk, but also for leaving us enough time to discuss all of the questions that it raised. So thank you so much.
Thanks.